Hi everyone. So this video is going to be another kind of body related video, I suppose, because I have been thinking about this a lot lately. Just because you keep hearing things and you keep seeing things in places, and it made me think the other day, and I was talking to somebody about it, about how I'm not going to go out and say I had an eating disorder, because that wouldn't be fair to say that, because it wasn't a proper eating disorder. I wasn't clinically diagnosed with an eating disorder. I think I was on the verge of having some sort of disorder, on the verge of having something. And I did make a video a while ago called My Body Battle Story, I think, and I kind of talked about it a little bit there, but I want to talk about it in a little bit more detail. And I must have been about 13. Yeah, 13. I think I must have been about 13, 14. And I became really, really weight obsessed, and I became calorie obsessed as well. Like, I would devour calorie books, in magazines sometimes you get those like calorie sheet things. Those, I'd collect them, I'd keep them in a little folder. I'd know exactly how many calories were in every single thing, and my daily diet would consist of a few crackers in the morning, and then at lunchtime I would have it is really sad. At lunchtime I would have a dry piece of toast and a cucumber and a hard-boiled egg, and then at dinner I would have like some chopped up cucumber with a bit of feta cheese and salt, and that was it. And I sort of devised these kind of homemade diets all by myself, completely ridiculous, nutritionally unbalanced, stupid diets that I felt kind of would help me, but I'd kind of do them for a week and then go back to it normally, and then think, oh, I've put weight on, and then go back to doing the diet, and just do that all the time. And I kind of, at that point, I did start having quite an unhealthy relationship with food, but my parents didn't really notice, and I kind of hid it quite well as well. And then I suddenly noticed that I started losing weight, and people kept telling me how thin I looked, and I just got addicted to people saying that I was thin. I used to have this huge aversion to anybody telling me that I looked curvy. It would drive me mad. I'd cry. I did not want to look curvy in any way, shape or form, and I just wanted to be skinny. That was what I wanted to look like, and I would then kind of do things like I'd have dry cereal, so cereal like without any milk, and an orange and an apple, and call it a day. And that was what I would eat all day. And I wasn't really skinny though. I was probably about 8 stone, maybe just a bit over 8 stone, so not really skinny, but I have got the body type where my natural body weight is probably about 9 stone, 9 and a bit. That is kind of my natural body weight. If I just eat healthily and exercise a little and don't be too restrictive, that's kind of my natural body weight. But I was being so restrictive that it really plummeted down, and I would go through whole days of just not eating. And sorry, I would go through whole days of just not eating, and I'd get obsessed with things like, if you could pinch a tiny bit of flab on my belly, then I would, go completely nuts about it. And I was really methodical about things. So for example, if I decided that I had to do 100 sit-ups, it would have to be 100, and if I hadn't done them, I'd go to bed and then I'd do them in bed before I went to sleep, because I was that obsessed and that methodical about it being perfect. And all my friends were kind of worried about me, and were all like, you're being too obsessed and that, and didn't really know what to say. And then one of my friends said to me that she had read somewhere that 1 in every 5 women have some form of an eating problem, and she said, you know who the 1 in the 5 of us is? It's you. And I was just like, no, I'm fine. And they were all really worried about me. But then it surfaced that another one of my friends, who was quite big, had suddenly lost a huge amount of weight, and we realised that it was because she was bulimic. And then their focus shifted from my kind of silly eating to this girl who, you know, was really making herself throw up after meals. And she was very, very, very skinny for her. And we were really worried. And I went, I was in, like, you know, the beginning of high school at the time, I suppose, and I went to the school psychiatrist, and I said to her, you know, look, I think this girl's got an eating problem. And she said, yes, I know, but I have heard that you have as well. And I was like, no, I'm fine. And I wasn't, you know. And at that point as well, because my friend had been getting so skinny, being the kind of competitive girls that, you know, you are at that age, I got very, I won't say jealous, but I kind of got jealous of her success, I suppose, her being so skinny and everyone noticing it. So I tried to kind of do the same thing, but I could never make myself be sick. I just physically couldn't. But I then kind of cut down on meals even more, and at that point my parents did notice, and my mum would try and make me eat, and she'd watch that I ate and things like that, and she'd always say to me, you know, like, look how skinny you are now, it's enough, you really don't need to be doing this anymore. And I don't remember it that well. I think it was one of those cases of like blocking things out, but I do remember not going out anywhere because I was always worried about that it would involve food, and being just too interested in calories and things like that. And my hair started to kind of fall out because I wasn't really eating enough, and my nails were really brittle. And in the end, my mum took me to the doctors. And the funny thing was, during this whole time, we didn't have scales in the house, so I never knew how much I weighed. I was just kind of estimating. And my mum took me to the doctors, and she sort of said to him, you know, like, she's not eating properly and blah, blah, blah. And his kind of approach was a bit rubbish, and he just kind of, you know, measured my height, weighed me, looked at my BMI and was like, you know, you've got a perfectly healthy BMI, there's nothing wrong with you. There's not much, you know, you can do about it, and that, and just kind of was quite dismissive about it. But I weighed myself at the doctor's, and I was about 8 stone, and I thought, oh my god, I'm actually skinnier than I thought I was. And then I kind of settled down for a bit, and then I put loads of weight on because I think I was just kind of trying to overcompensate for it in a way. And then I lost it again, and this, you know, this was all obviously like years ago, but I do kind of sometimes feel it creeping back up on me now, and just little things of it. I think it is one of those things that you never fully recover if you've had that in you, and I feel like I can sometimes get a little bit weird about it, although most of the time I am pretty healthy and pretty kind of grounded about such things. But I do look back now and I think, you know, God, what a silly girl I was, because I just thought all these things were so important and just made myself miserable and was worrying about really stupid things that at that age you shouldn't be being worried about. And I was really worried about, you know, how big my bum was, when I should have just been having fun like most people that age do. But I was really, really obsessed and worried about it. But I think I have got quite an obsessive personality anyway, to be honest. But so yeah, that was kind of how I sort of dabbled on the dangerous side of having some sort of problem. Like I said, I'm not saying that I had an eating disorder, because it wasn't like that, but I do believe that to some form or another, most women have got some sort of an issue with their body and eating, and a kind of small dose of body dysmorphia, because I really had body dysmorphia. I would look in the mirror and see someone who was an elephant when really I was really quite skinny. So that was just an absolute ridiculous on my behalf, but I kind of feel like, you know, I'm much better now, but that is how it affects you. So I hope you enjoyed this video, even though it's kind of not a really enjoyable topic, but you know what I mean. And if you want to share your experience or stories or anything with me, then pop them in the comments below, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.